In the late 1960s and early 1970s, when David and Shaun Cassidy were the talk of the town, there was a boy named Bobby Sherman whose name sent shivers down the spines of teenage girls everywhere. His infectious tunes, boyish good looks, and cover appearances in publications like 16 and Tiger Beat made him the quintessential teen idol. During his peak, Bobby appeared to be living the high life. He was a TV sensation in his own right, had hit songs that topped the charts, and played to raucous, devoted audiences. However, Bobby astonished everyone when he abandoned his successful music career to pursue a completely new path. Bobby Sherman is now 81 years old and barely recognizable, and not in the way you might expect. How, then, did he become the man he is today after being a music star? We'll find out if we go in. On a bright and sunny July 22, 1943, in California, Bobby Sherman's story starts. Robert Cabot Sherman Jr. was born in that place. When Bobby's family relocated from Santa Monica to Van Nuys in the San Fernando Valley, his life took a significant turn. This action would pave the way for the youngster who would go on to enchant a whole generation, even though he was only 9 years old at the time. The early signs of Bobby's love for music emerged when he was 11 years old. Little did anyone anticipate that this young man wouldn't be content to limit himself to just one instrument. It all began with a trumpet. From the piano to the guitar to the trombone, Bobby would eventually become proficient in 16 of them. Music wasn't the only thing that piqued his interest. He painstakingly built 3-scale replicas of Disneyland when he was 13 years old. Bobby played on the football team, sang in the school band, and pursued his early passion for music while attending Birmingham High School. And by 1961 he had completed his degree and was prepared to move on to the next phase of his life. He went to Woodland Hills, California, to attend Pierce College, to major in pediatric psychology. Alas, destiny, in its infinite wisdom, had other intentions. Bobby was invited to a gathering honoring the film The Greatest Story Ever Told by his girlfriend one night. Attendees included Sal Monio, Jane Fonda, and Natalie Wood, so it was clearly no ordinary party. Feeling the energy of the occasion, Bobby sang Ray Charles's What I Would Say with the band. Impressions extended beyond his circle of acquaintances. There was an electric energy in the room. A famous person from that time had a specific crush on Bobby. He went up to him and offered to assist with his career management. "Helping me?" Bobby inquired, his tone a mix of amusement and confusion. However, he quickly discovered the opportunities that Hollywood offered him. After just 3 days, he received an audition for the popular teen music show Shindig thanks to an agent who had been there at the party. Suddenly, Bobby was cast in the lead. Despite the brief duration of his appearance on Shindig, Bobby Sherman became a household name during that time. People all around the country were captivated by his youthful charisma and talent. Notoriety, however, was not free. Bobby found himself sucked into a relentless cycle of labor, day in and day out, with hardly any time to catch his breath. Bobby was still around after Shindig stopped in 1966. He dabbled in music production and appeared as a guest on series like Honey West and The Monkees. His breakthrough, though, occurred in 1968. When the part of Jeremy Bolt on Here Comes the Brides came his way. His performance as the endearing yet stumbling Jeremy won over viewers and ensured the show's success on ABC. After starring as Jason Bolt on the hit sitcom Here Comes the Brides, Bobby Sherman shot to fame. His charisma and friendliness won over viewers for 2 years. Despite Jason's eventual recovery from his stutter, the show was ultimately canceled. Nonetheless, viewers were deeply moved by Bobby's performance. Bobby had his epiphany at a Buffalo telethon when he realized he was more than simply an actor. Bobby hadn't even dropped any music yet, and the show had only just begun airing. Everything changed, though, when the fire marshal abruptly cut Bobby off from the gathering, stating that he needed to go upstairs. Bobby peered out the window and noticed a huge queue of people eager to meet him. He suddenly grasped the enormity of his rising stardom at that moment. Bobby eventually reached a turning point in his life. While he was unsure of what to do next, he immersed himself in music, composed his own songs, and played around with various recording tools. This is when Bobby's career took a different path, as he was discovering new things. Making a living as a singer was his calling. Little Woman, Bobby's debut single, was released in 1969. He was awarded a gold record for the song when it soared to number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100 list and sold over 1 million copies. The rapid growth of Bobby's music career caused his calendar to become jam-packed with performances and studio time. He became even more ingrained in the minds of his youthful, devoted audience after penning a column for Tiger Beat magazine. Julie, Do You Love Me, Easy Come, Easy Go, and Little Woman were some of Bobby's subsequent top singles. He said that when he writes music, it all begins with a single line and then the rest of the words and melody are built around it. It was successful. When Bobby was at the top of his game, he was getting 25,000 letters every week from fans. He had an enormous following, especially among adolescent females. Here Come the Brides, along with Bobby's singing career, cemented his position as a teenage idol. The fact that his celebrity had skyrocketed was obvious, even though he had mixed feelings about the label. His concerts drew adoring audiences of all sizes as he traveled the globe, entertaining sold-out shows. Their cries were so loud that Bobby began to experience partial hearing loss. Staggering were Bobby's accomplishments in his career. He had 107 singles released, 7 of which reached the top 40, 7 of which were certified gold, and 1 of which was certified platinum. Posters, lunchboxes, and periodicals featured his likeness. Following the cancellation of Here Come the Brides and its sequel, Getting Together, Bobby continued to be a well-known figure in the entertainment industry. Popular shows that featured him as a guest star include Murder, The Love Boat, and The Mod Squad, according to her writing. In 1983's comedy Get Crazy, he and fellow adolescent star Fabian portrayed henchmen for a malevolent promoter, marking his cinematic debut. The love, family, and surprising turns in Bobby's personal life were every bit as interesting as his music and celebrity. The story of Bobby Sherman's first marriage to Patty Carmel began entirely by happenstance. Bobby and Patty's acquaintance Diane happened to share a flat, so Patty paid her a visit. In a hilarious instance of mistaken identity, Diane and Patty first believed Bobby to be the host of the TV show Shindig, which led to their meeting. Pretty soon after that, Bobby started seeing Patty, and they eventually moved in together. Christopher and Tyler were their sons from their marriage. From the moment Tyler was born, Bobby was an involved father. He was even present in the delivery room. As a father, his commitment was evident, and he took immense joy in being a good role model. Bobby said he never smoked or drank because he was never interested in the habit and because he didn't want to set a bad example for his kids. Bobby poured his heart and soul into his son's upbringing, and he adored them. To make his youngsters' dreams come true, he even spent $15,000 constructing a miniature Disneyland in their garden. For Bobby, everything was going swimmingly in the early 1970s. His family was stunning, his music career was thriving, and his TV show was a smashing success. Fairy tales, however, do not endure eternally. Even after Bobby and Patty's 1979 divorce, he maintained tight relationships with his sons and made sure they never felt alone. David Soul, who co-starred with Bobby in Here Come the Brides, was remarried by Patty after some time. It was revealed to Patty by Soul later on that the marriage had problems. Despite everything, Bobby's relationship with his sons remained solid. By introducing him to groups like Depeche Mode, they even helped him keep up with the dynamic music world. The discovery of repeats of Bobby's old TV shows by younger audiences was both entertaining and little unsettling to him. Even if he could go back in time, he doubted he would choose the experience of fame. Life presented its fair share of difficulties. Ethel Richards, a stalker, had a disturbing encounter with Bobby in his twilight years. Even as a teenager, she has been a fan and has asked to see him. Bobby initially disregarded the correspondence since he was not taking the matter seriously. But that didn't stop Ethel. She took the Greyhound bus to Hollywood and dropped by Bobby's house in Encino unannounced. The authorities were alerted after someone rang the doorbell and was captured on Bobby's security camera. Ethel was arrested and ordered to appear in court after she reappeared later that day, despite having fled before the authorities arrived. Even though these things happened, Bobby's life changed for the better. As a father, he learned quickly that he had a gift for administering first aid. After realizing his wife was unprepared to deal with injuries, Bobby took it upon himself to educate himself on how to treat his son's bruised knees and cut noses. Realizing he could make a difference in times of crisis, his abilities motivated him to enroll in first aid classes. Then, while Bobby was at the height of his career, he made a daring and surprising choice. He left the limelight of music and television to focus on what was truly important: rescuing lives. Bobby Sherman became an EMT and became proficient with a defibrillator after undergoing more training. He volunteered about 40 hours a month for a number of years before starting his own non-profit emergency medical services organization out of his desire to help others. Because of Bobby's commitment, the Los Angeles Police Department extended an invitation for him to attend their academy. He became an officer in 1992 after taking the oath of office with the Los Angeles Police Department and the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department. He began instructing incoming Los Angeles police officers in first aid a year after that and organized a volunteer paramedic team to help out at big events in Southern California. As part of his most audacious endeavor to yet, Bobby planned to have specialized first aid kits installed in all of the city's police vehicles. These kits were created to assist law enforcement personnel in treating injuries and preventing the spread of infectious diseases, such as AIDS and hepatitis B, which were prevalent threats on Los Angeles streets. The kits came with protective gear like face masks and gloves to help with CPR on victims of gunshots or stabbings. There were only 6,000 police vehicles in the city that had basic AIDS kits with gloves, shoe coverings, and disinfectant, none of which had first aid supplies. As the first responders at many crime scenes, police officers recognized the great potential in Bobby's suggestion. By enabling cops to administer emergency care prior to the arrival of paramedics, these first aid packs have the potential to save lives. The proposal was to be presented by Sergeant Bob Keller, who trained police officers, to his squad. Keller suggested that, similar to how officers receive their other gear at the beginning of each shift, officers may also pick up a kit. The year before, Keller had recruited Bobby to instruct recruits in first aid. The depth of Bobby's knowledge and his dedication to the cause astounded me. Bobby took a more personal approach. The initial incident he assisted at a vehicle accident scene remained fresh in his memory. He would never forget the satisfying pleasure of that moment. According to Bobby Sherman, he has saved the lives of 3 or 4 people in accidents by assisting roughly 100 people over the years. He established TAC-5 in 1984. A community of paramedics committed to continuing their education and professional development. At first, they would just drive around seeking for accidents to help with. As time went on, they started helping out at races like marathons. Their exceptional performance at the Baker to Vegas Run, a significant police race, garnered them an offer to teach at the police school, which was one of their notable accomplishments. The necessity for improved first aid packs for law enforcement was brought up by Fred Miller, a paramedic from the Los Angeles Fire Department who collaborated closely with Bobby. Due to delays in administering cardiopulmonary resuscitation, CPR, numerous lives were tragically lost. To combat this, Bobby intended to fill these kits with donations and was prepared to utilize his own funds if necessary. His admirers will never forget him, no matter what he does next. As an example of a noteworthy incident from his experience as an EMT, he recounted the time he assisted a woman who was profusely bleeding. He was Bobby Sherman. Her husband recognized him. When she realized he was Bobby, the woman was anxious about how she looked, but he reassured her. His kindness extended to signing an autograph for her before she was escorted to the ambulance. Bobby left his house on January 17, 1994, when a big earthquake hit California. He immediately got in his truck and headed towards the places that had been impacted the worst, making himself available to help anyone who needed it. First aid was necessary for some. Bobby was always there for those who needed him, whether it was advice or just some comfort. He was given the Los Angeles Police Department's Reserve Officer of the Year in 1999 for his unwavering commitment, and he was promoted to the position of Chief Medical Training Officer for the department. He found great satisfaction in instructing police officers on how to save lives. Learning cardiopulmonary resuscitation and first aid was something he had always thought was really important. Saving lives as an EMT was incredibly satisfying, and Bobby often thought about it. Included the once-in-a-lifetime event of giving birth to 5 infants while out in the field. Despite the difficulties of his new position, he never stopped surprising and delighting audiences. As he blended his former life as a celebrity with his new life of service, he relished the moments of interaction with fans who would often recognize him while he worked. The most surprising twists and turns in Bobby's life occurred right when you thought his story couldn't get much stranger. Let me explain. Bobby wasn't looking for a new relationship after his 1979 divorce. Being an EMT gave him a sense of purpose and fulfillment, so he devoted himself fully to his job. He preferred a low-key existence and avoided the limelight for a long time. However, things took a turn for the worst in 1998. On the Teen Idol tour, Bobby rejoined other former teen idols such as Peter Noone and the Monkees after a quarter of a century away from the music industry. Feelings of longing were palpable. People from all around came to experience the enchantment they had as children. Bobby proved that his star power hadn't diminished as he performed with his trademark charisma. The curtain came down on an era as he performed his last solo show in Lincoln, Rhode Island on August 25, 2001. Once again, fate intervened when Bobby's manager got an unusual request late one night. A guy phoned to see whether Bobby might drop by his girlfriend's 40th birthday bash unannounced. Bobby consented, planning to remain for no more than 20 minutes. Something clicked, though, once I got there. Eventually, he stayed all night, even taking a handshake with the birthday girl. Bridget, who was celebrating her birthday, would later become his soulmate. Their 2010 wedding proved that love can strike at the most unexpected times. Bobby always preferred to keep to himself, even though he had millions of devoted admirers and was famous. Because of the constant stream of admirers, he became quiet and reserved. Actresses such as Jane Fonda and Natalie Wood were idols to him, but rarely became good friends with anyone in the Hollywood industry. He preferred his alone for a large portion of his life and avoided social situations whenever possible. Bridget Poblan, a 13-year-old girl from Indonesia, was engrossed in Bobby Sherman's performance on American Bandstand, hundreds of miles away. She found him charming, but she never dreamed she'd end up being his wife. Strange as it may seem, life often brings people together. Subsequently, Bobby and Bridget used their common interests to do good in the world. They established the Children's Foundation of Bridget and Bobby Sherman in 2011. The Ghanaian-based organization's mission is to provide children a voice via the arts and education. Their goal is to provide students with the knowledge and skills they need to excel academically and to encourage them to develop their unique abilities. The activity of the foundation is sustained by the kind contributions of contributors from all corners of the globe. When Bobby Sherman's charity posted a photo of him on social media, followers went wild. His characteristic smile brightens the shot, and even at 81 years old, he has that same comforting aura. His charisma has not diminished despite the shortening of his hair. Many moving remarks were left in the comment area. His many admirers sent him best wishes on Father's Day and thanked him and his wife for their charitable work. The world is a better place because of him, according to one admirer. Others praised his dual career as an entertainer and EMT, calling him a great hero. Bobby says he wouldn't alter a thing about his life when he looks back, but he wishes he had taken more time to enjoy each moment. Although the years of labor were taxing, he holds dear the memories of that remarkable period. The fact that Bobby continues to get a lot of fan mail even after he left the limelight is evidence of the enduring influence he had on individuals. He and his wife now live a quiet life, enjoying time with their 2 boys and 6 grandkids. Since Bobby and his wife's birthdays are only 1 week apart, July is a very significant month for them. Since Father's Day is also in the same month, their family always celebrates with joy and happiness. Instagram posts celebrating holidays such as Valentine's Day, Christmas, and New Year's abound on the Sherman Foundation's page, a reflection of the family's love of celebrations. During a particularly memorable Easter, they traveled to Ghana to do charitable work on behalf of their foundation. They have a Christmas gala and fundraising once a year, and Bobby occasionally performs there, adding a little of his everlasting charm.